And welcome back into a brand new episode of Tribal Council Chat, the flagship show of the Reality Realm Podcast Network. As always, we are your hosts. My name is Bruce Heller,
And my name's Brett Parnell.
and let's dive in. So, episode 11 of Survivor 48. What are your overall thoughts on the episode?
I think I said this last night to you, but are these people even playing the game?
I don't
I've got
mind
to be
it. The people
honest,
I've been rooting for all along are doing well. So,
which I guess is fair. I'm just bored by this cast.
fair enough.
It's probably grown. I was kind of indifferent earlier, but I really feel like, and not obviously, there's a downside to the season I'm about to relate it to, and that's not what I mean at all. But I'm really feeling like I'm watching Island of the Idols again.
Hmm.
And that's
Interesting.
that I believe all the people I found that were interesting went pre-merge.
Yeah.
In Island of the Idols, I thought Ronnie was a great character. I thought Molly was a great character. I thought Chelsea was a great character. Gone, gone, gone. I'm getting the same sense with Thomas, with Bianca, with Charity. And now I'm like, of the people left, none of them are doing anything.
Yeah. I think it's. Let's see. I'm in the position of like Eva was one of my two favorites preseason because she's a huge hockey fan like I am and she plays hockey. So like
Yeah,
people I've been rooting for are doing well. So like I
which is
like
good.
it. I get why people don't. What you said is true. We lost a lot of big personalities pre-merge. I've seen a lot of people say the season is predictable because no one's flipping anything. The
Right.
majority is just sticking together.
That's it.
But like everyone
But
liked
not only
Borneo,
is
the same thing happened there. Nobody
but
said
not
it was
only is the
boring because it was
majority just
predictable.
sticking together, but it's the people that aren't the majority aren't even trying, as we saw last night with everybody but Mary voting for Mary.
Yeah.
They could literally. We'll see if it happens, but would you be surprised if we don't get a unanimous, like, even in Borneo? Yes, the Tagi Four stuck together the whole season, but Pagong opposed them as long as they could and
It
still voted
didn't amount to
together.
anything.
Pardon?
It didn't
Oh, I
amount
know
to
it didn't
anything.
amount to anything, but my point is, this is was a unanimous vote at 7. Nobody even tried.
Yeah. And I don't want to keep harping on Mitch. I feel like I was hard on him last week, but he's the one that I think has had multiple opportunities to flip this and do something, and he just chooses not to.
And he has to an extent, and you're right, but I have to be fair and say so has Kamilla, so has Kyle, so has Shaheen. No
Yeah.
one's doing it. It's not just Mitch. There's been one player this whole season who has tried to advocate for something to happen, and it was Chrissy.
Yeah. And we'll get to Kyle because I feel like Kyle legitimately considers it, but he's in a tough. He's played the middle well, but because he's played the middle so well, he feels very connected to both sides. And he has a quote that I wrote down somewhere in here that he doesn't want to hurt anyone, even if it would be better for his game, just
Yeah,
because of the personal connections you develop with people. So
you're right.
Kyle's in a pretty tough spot, honestly. Like he's afraid that if he burns someone, he's not going to get their jury vote. But
And I mean, like, I've even thought of it in, like, last season, we were doing it long before this point. But I've been like, when do we really bring in, and we haven't done it this season, but I've been thinking, like, when do we bring in full power rankings? And I'm like, how do you power rank these people?
yeah,
Either way, who's your player of the week, Bruce?
mm, this is hard. I'm going to go with Eva.
Interesting.
I mean, her alliance is driving. She was never a target. She got to go on another reward.
You're right. That's a great pick.
Went on
I
a
think
journey and kept her vote.
I think it's funny that last week you picked Joe and I picked Eva, and this week you're gonna pick Eva and I'm gonna pick Joe. And I mean, there's no there's just no argument to be made to be that anyone else other than the two of them can be player of the week in any recent episode.
I was gonna pick Joe, but his stupid block that had a picture of an eye on it was turned the wrong way for its color or whatever. So
Enough. The only reason I'm going to pick him is that he just seems to be controlling this entire game, and I don't even think he's doing that much.
yeah.
But common sense would be at 7 if when Joe messes up the challenge that he's just gone, and common sense isn't all too common in this day and age anymore.
What a dumb BS reason to lose. Like, it's fair. It was the rules, but like I'd be so annoyed if I lost.
Yeah.
My eye block was turned backwards.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now it's still kind of on him because if he hadn't spelled "got fun betrayal"
Yeah.
first, and we'll get to the challenge because he made up just a complete nonsense word. But so we dive into the recap. And as soon as we get back from Tribal, Mary is pitching Kamilla on keep me around. I'll help you get rid of Eva or Joe next. And
I guess this is a great point. Maybe we shouldn't have started with our overall thoughts on the episode and just went right into it, because now we've kind of spoiled what happens. But hey, this is where I thought, hey, the last couple episodes might redeem this season.
honestly, I'm not worried about spoiling the episode. I feel like if
I'm not either.
listening to an episode recap, they've already watched it.
Yeah, exactly.
But
I'm just saying, for the first few minutes of this, I was like, oh, this game might be good for the last few weeks. Not a top tier season, but maybe it could work its way into the mid tier, and boy, were those hopes dashed.
I don't agree. I feel like this was closer to happening than you're maybe thinking, because I feel like Kamilla and Kyle genuinely considered it. I feel like it came down to Kyle's afraid to burn the majority group because he's afraid they'll be too hurt to give him their jury vote. If Kyle had been more on board, then I think Kyle, Kamilla, Mary make this move.
You're right. I have another at least thought at the end of the episode that I'll make sure to get to, but of how I would have played it in an alternative reality.
Yeah, ultimately, I think this week came down to Kyle has cold feet because he's played the middle too well, and he's afraid he's going to hurt someone or burn someone either way. And you're building genuine connections with people when you're out there, so that's a legitimate fear on his part. But
right.
So Mary gives that pitch to Kamilla, and next she gives it to Kyle. And this is where Kyle tells her he doesn't want to make a move against Joe emotionally or strategically. Then tells us in a confessional that he does want to maybe make a move against Joe. He just doesn't trust Mary with that information.
Yeah. I'm almost sensing that this might not have been great editing.
But, yeah. If you
and
know
that maybe
you and
these
someone have a common goal, why are you hiding that from them?
Agreed. My question when I saw it was, what's the actual order of how is this playing out?
Well, yeah, scene order aside, though, he tells us in confessional,
I just mean what day of the...
But I want him out also.
You're right.
I just don't get that thought process.
I just mean what day was the confessional on and what day was the scene on. That could play a big deal.
But so after that, Mary feels like she's making no traction. She's frustrated. So she takes a machete and brutally murders a coconut while, like, grumbling and complaining while she's hitting it. And this is where we get a little bit of a weird heroes versus villains flashback here. Is Eva takes exception to Mary eating another coconut and that she's had too many. And honestly, Eva's been my favorite left in the game since, all the way since Thomas went out.
Yeah.
She's been on so many of the rewards at this
Of
point.
anybody to complain about food in the entire new era, Eva is not the one who should be doing it.
I get the thought process, and if it had come from someone else, that's one thing. But
yeah,
I love Eva. You're not the messenger for that with how many rewards you've been on.
Literally.
But I did say in one of the either one or both of the chat BCC groups that the Heroes tribe would be disappointed in Mary.
Yeah.
Because they got onto James for getting up and eating bananas without offering anyone else one. But
that is true.
So our next scene we see is Kyle and Kamilla are discussing the possibility of voting Joe out next. And this is where we see from Kyle that he has conflicting commitments he's made from playing the middle so well. And he feels like he's between this rock and a hard place. And he's afraid that if he burns either side, that he's going to lose someone's jury vote. So he doesn't really know what to do here.
And this is why the middle is such a difficult place to play. And it takes someone with top tier social skills like the lady behind me to be able to play it perfectly.
Yeah.
Because in Kyle's situation, he's so worried about losing one vote. You have to just, if you're going to do that, you have to do like what Michelle did when Scott went home and be willing to just hope that the jury is going to vote for you.
Yeah, well, also it's worth noting not everyone has the ability to send home a juror that's not going to vote for you.
That's for sure.
Which she probably wins anyway, but that just felt worth noting because what a weird twist.
I like that twist. I will continue to argue
till I'm doing.
No, nothing to
do with I wonder why.
Nothing to do with the results of it. I like it because, like, it just reminded me so much of, like, jury selection when I took a law degree.
Yeah, no, and we talked about that, and that makes total sense. It's just, optics-wise, it's funny that the giant Michelle fan is also the one always arguing in favor of that twist.
Yes, it is. I get it.
Most people hate that twist.
But I just found, even like long before that, I'm like, this is just taking actual jury selection into the survivor jury, and I loved it.
I always said, like, if I hosted an online game back when I was playing those a lot in 2020,
yeah,
that my big twist would have been Final Tribal would be a Final Four.
That would be funny.
And I'd tell them that partway through the game.
But you would tell them that right after, before Final Immunity Challenge, or sorry, before to vote somebody out like they did in Micronesia.
Like a round or two before. Hey, guess what? Final Tribal will be 4 of you. Final 5 is Final Immunity.
That would be amazing.
I want to see it.
Yeah.
Final 4 and put it on the cold weather season I mentioned last December. Just give me a full season of what I want to see production. That can only go well in my mind.
Yeah.
I maintain the cold weather season isn't a bad idea. Most people probably disagree with me on that, but
well, the cold weather season in Alaska might be a thing if we start getting tariffed to film in Fiji.
Well, yeah. When we did our locations episode, you told me British Columbia would be an ideal place to film my cold weather season. So
yes, it would.
Vancouver, here we come. Because that's the only city in British Columbia I can name. So we have this next scene. This is where we got the quote from Kyle that I wrote down because I love it. Just shows the human element of the game. I don't want to hurt these people, even if it's better for my game. And you're struggling with you are playing a game, but these are genuine friendships and
Yeah.
relationships that you're building and trying to balance that.
Yeah, I get his point. It's a difficult thing to balance. I've obviously never done it, so I can't claim to be an expert. But at the same time, not just Kyle, but all 18 people who were on the beach in season 48 all knew what they were signing up to do.
You say that, but if you watch some of these Ponderosa videos, not just from old school Survivor when everyone took everything personally, but even like new school Survivor seasons, like watch the Ponderosa video from Philippines
with Abby Maria
when
and
Abby
RC.
goes home and RC just goes nuclear on her for an entire video.
Yeah.
Like, you would think people would be able to put game moves aside, but it affects the personal relationship sometimes. Or the Kagian when Cass shows up and literally nobody says anything when she walks into a room. But the Philippines Ponderosa is just a weird experience to watch.
Yeah, that was a weird one.
And so next we have this scene with I was not at my phone, but I put love like the fishing and floating in the water scene. It was, I think, Kyle and Mitch and maybe someone else. And they're just bonding together, which was really cool to me.
Yeah, it was interesting. I thought there was two ways, though, to look at this. One is that you're right. You had this bonding scene that was great, and it is so fits so well with this cast. But at the other way to see it, I'm like, we're in Final 7, and we're showing a fishing scene, which tells me that Joe and Eva are safe because not a lot is happening anymore.
I like the personality scenes, though. Like, I don't want it to be
I do too.
All the time.
It's just we're so close to the end of the game that clearly they were a little short for content.
Yeah. Which that's part of the 90 minutes, too, is we get the game content and we get the camp life content.
Which I like. Yeah. I'm not saying to not have the camp life content. It just seems that, I mean, if I was to sum up this whole season into one sentence, it would just be vibing on the island.
Yeah. And so our next scene is we find out someone is going to get to go on a journey. And they draw rocks or pull straws. They do something so it's random chance who gets to go on the journey.
Draw rocks.
And Eva gets to go, even though she already has safety without power and
2 advantages. Yeah.
And so she goes and she has to stack tiles in a circular form while balancing on a perch. And once she reaches 4 levels, she can earn her vote back. And then she can choose to go for 8 if she wants. But if it falls, she loses her vote again. She reaches level 4 and earns that vote back.
Yeah.
Considers going for more, but decides to stop for the benefit of
She does like half a level.
Yeah, and then stops.
Which was very smart.
Yeah, I agree. I like this one, though.
Yeah. I liked it. It was a great journey. It was, I think, what happens when Eva comes back to camp is probably the best television aspect of it. And that's that she's just blatantly honest and tells the whole tribe what happened, because she's right. Safety without power was the one advantage that Eva did not, or not safety without power, sorry.
Knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power is the one advantage that literally doesn't benefit Eva in the least. It benefits everybody else playing.
Yeah. And so, do you have...
That being said, if she did get it, I would have laughed so hard if she got up in tribal and said, Jeff, I want to play Knowledge is Power. Eva, do you have an idol?
You know, I've realized if she plays it right, Eva can guarantee herself a spot at 4.
Yeah, she can.
She has an idol and a safety without power. Just
Though
play
I've heard I think the
tribal.
safety without power is no longer valid.
What?
I heard safety without power is no longer valid.
You know what? It expires at some point. I don't remember when.
I just heard another podcast say it expired last night.
Okay, so she can't guarantee herself a spot at 4.
If that's accurate, she has to survive one more week, whether it be at 6 or at 5.
Which I don't think is going to be a problem. But
I don't think so either.
I forgot that safety without power expired at 7, apparently.
Yeah. Which makes sense to a point because not only does it now expire at a certain point, but 7 is also a good spot because if she does leave, you're getting to 6, which increases the likelihood of a lock draw. So good on production for putting it at 7 instead of at 6 or 5.
Yeah.
Because when you get 6 people there, the chance of voting 3 and 3 is very high. And we all know going the rocks makes for a good episode every time.
Yeah. Do you have any more notes before the challenge?
No, go ahead.
So we are playing for reward as well. It is sushi, teriyaki chicken, noodles, and iced tea.
Yeah.
We do not chant any of those this time. There is no song about the reward sung by our castaways this week.
No, I think an iced tea song will have to wait for Deal or No Deal Island next season.
It's savory and sweet, and it's what we want to drink. So, and the way this works is we push a survivor wheelbarrow that's balancing a vase on it over a series of balance beams. And then partway through, we add a second vase stacked on top of it and go through more obstacles. Then we complete a word and letter arch puzzle. And this word and letter puzzle was wild because we think Joe is done. And he says the word, he says, got fun betrayal. And it's not the actual word betrayal. He spelled it Betrale, which is not a word.
That is not a word, no.
And also, he came up with a 3-word sentence when this puzzle is always one word.
Yeah, that's true.
So they keep going. Kyle tries to check with the word unforgettable and is not right. I missed what he had wrong with this. I didn't see it.
Yeah, he spelled the word incorrectly on one side at least.
Oh. So we keep going.
Can I just say with this challenge as we're going, I know we've saw it in 47 and now in 48, but I have to say after Winners at War, Jeff said in relation to Adam trying to play the podium that I don't watch international seasons of the show. Clearly somebody in production does, because this challenge was in Australian Survivor, but long before it was in American Survivor.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But we keep going.
Well, we're on that topic. Just maybe something to throw out. The votes were overwhelming, so as long as we can get it in footage, this summer, Bruce, you and I will be covering Australia versus the world, featuring Parvati, Suri, and Tony, taking up probably a decent chunk of our off-season, but we'll still have some off-season content too.
Yeah. And so we keep going in the challenge. Joe beats Kamilla by 1 second. But his is wrong because on each end of the word, there's these little eyes. And Joe had one of them turned the wrong way. It was turned to one color and it should have been turned the other way, so the colors matched.
Yeah.
And so Kamilla wins immunity based off of that tiny little block. And it's fair, that's the rules. But man, I'd be annoyed if I was Joe
Oh,
with that.
yeah,
That
absolutely.
is
So
such a
close.
dumb little technicality. But good for Kamilla. She got it right. She earned it. And so Camilla picking two people to go on reward with her. Sorry, two. And she picks Mitch because he hadn't eaten yet. And she picks Eva to keep her and Joe comfortable and not suspicious. I think these are smart choices.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, I thought those were very smart choices, especially Mitch is always a good choice in this spot because there's no second reason to having to figure out why he was chosen. He literally has not had the reward opportunity that everybody else has. And then, although Eva's in the complete opposite boat, you've done a couple of things by picking her. You've given her another reward, which might create some animosity. You've split up her and Joe so they can't be on the beach together. And you've ensured, if you're Kamilla, that you don't reveal that you and Kyle are a duo.
Yeah.
So very smart all around from Kamilla.
And so back at camp, we really don't get a ton. Mary tells Joe that she's writing his name down. And of course, Joe freaks out a bit to Kyle and Shaheen and Mitch. And I don't know what he expects them to do about it, but
Yeah.
he wants to put some safeguard in place in case Mary pulls an idol. And
This is where my mom said a very interesting thing. Is she was saying, does Joe want Eva to give him the idol at this point? And my reaction to this, and this is where I was going with how they maybe this cast could be playing more, is that I guess at the time I didn't know that safety without power was voided. But I was like, no, if you Eva, you don't even consider that option. You found a way to get all the way to the end. Eva does not need Joe anymore.
yeah, that was
Eva would be at a point where even if she does not vote Joe, the best thing that Eva could do would be to try to plant the word Joe in other people's minds and then vote for a third candidate.
Yeah.
And then watch him go to the jury, no hard feelings. He'll get up at final and write her name down without even thinking about it.
Yeah. But no, I get him.
Whereas if they're in the final together, I think Joe wins.
Which they want to be in the final together.
I know they want to be.
So.
But I think they'll have to figure that out at some point because if you're Eva, I don't think you can beat Joe.
I don't know that she does either, but I don't know that she thinks that.
Fair.
But yeah, I get.
And I mean, there's still 2 weeks. At this point in the season, we thought that Maria and Charlie were the tightest duo in modern Survivors. So who knows what's going to happen?
I think these two are sticking to the end. I think.
I do too.
The end together.
If they can get to the end together, it wouldn't surprise me if one gets voted out between then and now. But we'll see.
It wouldn't surprise me, but it also wouldn't surprise me if they don't. They've got 4 out of 6, minimum 3 out of 6 now. Like they're pretty safe. But and the numbers of people to possibly make a move against them keep dwindling. So I think those are 2 out of the final 3. Joe's interesting here because I get why he's freaked out, but like I agree with what Kyle and Shaheen and Mitch say to him. Like, what do you want us to do here? Just have some confidence. She's going home. She doesn't have an idol. And they just kind of have to calm him down a little bit. Do you have any more notes before Tribal?
Not really.
I don't either. What stuck out to you from there?
Stuck out to me from Tribal was At first, editing tricked me. When Joe was speaking about why he's in the game, the music changed, and I'm like, oh, this could really be something. And then it was nothing. It was as predictable as ever.
Which I get where most people are coming from. Predictability isn't exciting or as interesting. The people I like are Joe and Eva and Shaheen. So I'm happy none of them went home here. But
yeah.
So we're not doing full power rankings. I'll ask this though. Who's at the bottom now, do you think?
At the bottom for me,
because Joe's clearly the top.
It's got to be Mitch.
It's either him or Kamilla. I don't know which one it is. I'm leaning towards her, though, because the past couple of weeks we've seen scenes with Joe and Shaheen wanting to talk to Mitch, wanting him to be a part of their plans.
Yeah.
And I just don't think we're seeing that with her. But I think those are the next two to go. I think the final four is probably Joe, Shaheen, Eva, Kyle.
Yeah. I could see that. I am going to say if somehow Kamilla can find a way into that final four instead of going home at 5, the types of challenges that we get for final four could be one that she's very good at.
Yeah. Maybe it's emotion. We never get that as final immunity.
Yeah, we don't.
Okay, so align blindside first boot. Who you got?
My align blindside first boot is going to be, in light of today's historical events, 3 prominent Survivor players who are American Catholics.
Nice.
Today we are recording after the United States had its first pope elected from the Catholic Church out of Chicago.
Yeah.
Bruce, you're a Protestant.
Yeah, but I'm American. We finally got one. It has no effect on me at all. So, I honestly don't have an actual strong opinion. But yeah, we got one.
That's funny. So your options are a Roman Catholic from Pennsylvania of Croatian heritage, Amber Burkic.
Interesting.
From Survivor Worlds Apart, Joe Anglam. And another winner, just so you can't pick 2 winners, or you can't automatically first boot a winner, Sandra Diaz-Twine.
Well, I'm going to automatically first boot the 2-time winner. Just because you told me I couldn't first boot someone based off of winning, you made me want to do it. I'm going to blindside... Wait, it's Amber, and who's the third one?
Joe Anglam.
Oh, crap. I'm going to blindside him. I want to first boot him a little bit because I feel like I'm going to get backlash if I don't.
Hey, I mean, we've all seen that it's possible to blindside Sandra. You just have to do it on the 16th day of the game, whatever that translates to in 26 days. I don't have a clue.
And if it's Winners at War, you do it, and it's a terrible move that kind of sinks you. So.
And if it's Australian Survivor, it's a good move.
Yeah.
And if it's Game Changers, it's also a terrible move that kind of sinks you.
That one wasn't as bad as Denise.
It was not as bad as Denise, no.
Denise could not find footing the rest of the game and sent home someone that clearly wanted to work with her.
She did. That being said, I put more of that onto Denise than I do onto the Sandra move because Denise could have found footing. She just had to work with Michelle, with Nick, with Jeremy, and try to get Tony out, and no one ever wanted to do that all season.
Yeah.
anybody has no excuse for not finding footing in Game Changers if they were part of Tony's master plan.
Tony didn't have a master plan in Game Changers.
Sorry, in Winners Out.
Oh. I want to say Game Changers Tony might be the most entertaining version of Tony, but there was no master plan. It was just running around chaotically.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
I love Game Changers Tony.
I mean, so do I. But I mean, Winners at War, Tony, if you were anybody, sorry, Winners at War, I don't feel bad if you're Ben, if you're Denise, if you're Nick, trying to say I couldn't fit in with get footing in the game when you were literally just doing what Tony said.
Yeah. And so
I mean, I also can't really say that anybody deserved any consideration in that game other than Tony and Michelle, because at least Michelle tried to get rid of Tony when she could.
I'm going to first boot Joe, blindside Sandra, and align with Amber.
I'm going to agree with all three of those.
And then let me think here. Your three, because you talked about it just now, you get Denise Stapley, Ben Drebergen, and I'm trying to think. I had a name in mind, I just forgot it. So instead, I'm going to go with Sarah. And just go with the people that wanted to go to the end with Tony, and none of them were beating him.
That is a good one that I get brought up. I'm going to first boot Ben before he starts finding idols. Kevin, if you're listening, that one's for you.
For once, we brought up Ben, and I'm not pretending to find an idol right under the chair I'm sitting in. I'm being nice to him. I want that on record. Usually when Ben comes up, I grab something under my chair and say I found an idol. Because the fan base famously stupidly thinks production planted an idol right under where Ben sleeps in the shelter.
I found an idol.
That is kind of like, what are the odds of that happening? But the people who think that was planted for him make me roll my eyes.
I'm going to blindside Denise in this situation and align with Sarah. I do definitely want Sarah in my alliance. I would not want to work on opposite sides of her. She is too smart for this game. Meanwhile, I think Denise has proven that she can do very well in this game, but if she's not on top, she could make bad moves, and that I don't want to be aligned with.
I don't think she was ever necessarily on top her first season either. She wasn't really in the majority alliance.
She got into the Big Four alliance.
True.
Once they merged, I mean, she was obviously nobody with Matt Singh is ever going to be on top.
Yeah. I think if Malcolm gets past that final immunity, does he beat Denise in final three?
Nope. I don't think
like
so.
him better. I want him to win that season. Can we
I think Denise played that season perfectly.
I think she did. I just like Malcolm better.
I
don't know why. I'm just not a huge Denise person. I don't dislike her. I'm just not she's not one of my favorites.
Fair enough. What are you going with?
Of that final three, though, she's clearly the best winner.
Yeah. Especially for what we know now that we didn't know back then.
Well, yeah, he who shall not be named was made.
He who shall not be named is who I was cheering for all season.
Oh, that's rough.
Yeah.
That's terrible, but hilarious.
I mean, all we knew about him was the fact that he was the guy that fell in the fire. That was kind of cool that he came back.
No, that part's cool, but what we know now...
Yeah.
Put him and Brian Heidick in a final two together somewhere.
Oh, God.
The jury hates less. Because Brian Heidick's got some baggage outside the game, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Well, this was a fun episode. kind of became a Philippines episode at the end for some reason, but that happens around here.
Hey, you didn't say who you were gonna align blindside in first boot.
You're right, I didn't. I'm going. I'm not aligning with Sarah. I'm gonna first boot Sarah. She's the best player here. The other two I'm torn between. I don't know who I have a better chance of beating at the end. Because based on what we saw from them in Winners at War, really neither of them played that impressive of a game.
But in the first season, they both played the game the way that they could with their cards, but they both played it very well.
Yeah, so
it's a crapshoot.
I'm going to align with Denise and blindside Ben around the merge because of the idols, like you said.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
This was fun.
Yeah, this was fun.
Check out the other Reality Realm shows. Check out Pit Stop Pals. Check out New Generation Challengers and what's it called? Roundtable Talk will be coming back one of these millennia.
Yeah. And then we'll have our normal show next week. The week after that, we'll have both a finale preview and an episode recap. And then the week after that, we're also going to have 2 episodes. We're going to have a finale results recap and a fantasy draft recap with Kevin, which I have just found out today that I got a couple extra days off. So fantasy draft results with Kevin on, I will be filming from the Las Vegas Strip.
Nice. You should film it from inside the Sphere.
That would be fun.
That place is so
You know what would be really fun if I was just randomly filming outside on in the middle of some building in the city with Kevin, and I could randomly get Jelinski on the pod.
Yeah. I just say you film from the Sphere because that place looks awesome. But
it does.
Or doesn't Vegas have an off-brand Eiffel Tower?
Yeah.
Film from sitting on top of that.
That would be amazing.
And don't lose your balance.
Yeah, don't lose your balance.
With that being said, grab your torches and head back to camp. Bye, everyone.
Bye.